I bet you remember your first platinum trophy, don't you? I bet you remember the exact moment that glorious ping first resonated in your ears. What was your first platinum? How long ago was it? A year? 3? 5? 10? Or are you an OG trophy god birthed at the dawn of trophies themselves? There are not many OG trophy hunters out there from 2008, and I'm sure as hell not one of them. Plats back then were insane. Well, apart from maybe Hannah Montana, of course, but most were grinds from hell designed to drag you through the most insane difficulty challenge out there. And just looking at those trophy lists makes me break out in cold sweats.
Myself, I was never into achievements or trophies. Before I broke my platinum duct, I was a basic bitch. A truly casual gamer, glued to the same franchises year in, year out, drowning in the mediocrity of annual releases that were nothing more than a paint job on the previous edition. But that all changed one fateful day 5 years ago. While having a sick day laid up on the sofa with a strong case of the old man flu, I accidentally popped my first platinum. Feeling sorry for myself on the sofa, I spent the entire day playing through Batman the Telltale series right until the end, right up until the glorious sound of my true calling beckoned from my TV. It was love at first sight. The original Platinum Trophy too, not the gorgeous new one, the OG presenting itself proudly, gloriously to me. My skin warmed, my heart fluttered, and a surge of dopamine drowned my brain, inducing me into a state of true nirvana. Early experimentation and exploration of games and their differing platinums turned into a quest to get good and use my trophy hunting as a road to Yharnam and make Bloodborne my centennial plat.
I made great friends, immersed myself entirely into the trophy hunting community, started a YouTube channel, met up with legends, but we all know how that worked out. Don't we, Figer? I took on a year-long trophy streak, aimed to be first 50 achievers on new games, and worked relentlessly to make sure that I always had more ultra rares than Plat Pro. Over 170 platinums, 100 YouTube videos, 7,000 trophies in 5 years. But have I achieved my truest goal? My original aim? Has 5 years of trophy hunting actually helped me get good? Let's find out. So let's go.
But how could we possibly test this? Well, I want to look at a couple of semi-difficult platinums that beat me early on in my trophy hunting shenanigans. I decided to go back to Crash Bandicoot's insane trilogy and one of the greatest games ever made, Arkham Asylum. Have I improved enough to beat these plats that previously beat me? Have I improved at all? Or am I still the same basic gamer masquerading as someone who can actually play? Or have I got good? Now, I only actually bought a PS4 originally to play Arkham Knight. Before that, I spent most of my time playing on PC. But that platinum provoked my curiosity and I quickly rushed to the interwebs to discover if there were any other easy plats I could get my grubby little hands on. This investigation resulted in my finding the hideously grotesque Mr. Masagi.
Now, I won't lie, I did giggle my way through this platinum much more than I should have, but it didn't exactly feel great. Kind of like cranking one out to a lingerie leaflet you found in a public toilet. It gets the job done, but you feel cheap and sordid afterwards. Unlike those bouts of public masturbation, you can't pretend that you haven't platted a game. It's there, immortalised on your trophy list, bringing down the overall quality of your trophy list just by being there.
A second Telltale Platinum followed, The Wolf Among Us, one of my all-time favourite comic book adaptations in gaming. I then decided to take things a little more seriously and take on a proper game. Getting 100% in Bayek and Aya's story may have taken 100 hours of my life, but its platinum gave me my biggest trophy-induced dopamine surge so far. Having trawled across ancient Egypt 50 times and back, I was starting to see the real beauty in trophy hunting, and it wasn't actually the platinum, but rather the feeling of completion. Just like when I finished a game on the Game Boy or Mega Drive back when TVs had the same shape as microwaves. In Origins, I found motivation in abundance, and trophies popping fueled my brain with dopamine as I truly started to enjoy and appreciate my new vocation, and it was only going to get better from here. A huge thank you to Ted's Collectibles for sending us these incredible platinum cards. Made with serious attention to detail and to the highest quality, they're 9cm tall and nearly 7cm wide, and are the perfect way to celebrate the latest platinum. To check out Ted's store, please follow the link in the description and use the code provided for 10% off. thank you very much. We also very much appreciate you sponsoring our Plativersary Awards.
Welcome to the very first and hopefully last ZXL Plativersary Awards. Tonight we honour the very best and worst of ZXL's Platinum Adventures. We begin tonight with the award for most fun Platinum Zach has earned. And the winner is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This delightful romp across ancient Greece is a 150-hour, 4 out of 10 Platinum with over 50 hours of DLC content to sink your teeth into. Take control of Cassandra or Alexios and navigate your way through wars, politics, and threesomes.
Oh yeah!
Filthy bastard. Zach found his time with Odyssey to be one of the most relaxing and enjoyable experiences he's ever had in gaming. The exploration, side quests, boss battles, and romantic choices available make it a delightful game and platinum. Over 150 platinums later, he still feels it to be one of his all-time favourites.
Now, I like to tell people that trophy hunting is all about learning, and the day that I loaded up Mad Max, I was taught a very, very valuable lesson. So yeah, that's why it sits on my trophy list all these years later at a pathetic 1% complete. And I cannot be fucked to go back to it if I cannot plat it. It sits there almost as embarrassingly, as shamefully as that Mr. Masaji plat.
You live, you learn. That technically I actually didn't learn though. Within weeks of starting the unobtainable Mad Max, I decided to try Mortal Kombat X and Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, neither of which I've come anywhere near to platting, nor will I. Firstly, the invasion missions are no longer generated in MKX, making that practically unobtainable unless you check every single day. And Power Rangers is just ridiculous. I mean, truly ridiculous. Anyone with that platinum is either an absolute chad or in need of serious psychiatric support. My 9th platinum would be the most important so far, probably of all time. A platinum I made much harder than it needed to be, but a platinum that transformed my gaming habits forever. 2018's God of War. Now, if you want the full lowdown on how I accidentally set the game to its hardest difficulty and why I couldn't turn it back or start again, then check out this absolutely dreadful YouTube debut from yours truly, our very first video. Endless hours of sheer torture the game gave me was a brutal Groundhog Day of fighting, bleeding, breaking and dying.
An endless loop of hopelessness.
So after over 100 hours, you can imagine my delight at ripping Sigrun's head right off of her shoulders. I put a hole in the ceiling, punch in the air, in glorious relief.
From that moment on, I knew my path. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, what I wanted to get out of this new hobby of mine. From that moment, I set out on my infamous road to Yharnam.
I plan to make the glorious Bloodborne my Centennial Platinum. In order to make this possible, I would use every platinum on the way to get good and be brave enough to take on a game that frankly terrified me. My final plats in my first year started that journey and continued my exploration and experimentation with different genres I enjoyed.
You see, I was at the end of my platinum adventure on Control when all I needed was one single skill point to pop the Master Paratilitartarian trophy. No one can fucking say that word. Goldie for using 100 of these. Easy, right? Well, no.
The last skill point in the base game that I could find was on top of a filing cabinet that for the life of me I could not reach. It didn't matter how I jumped, leapt or hovered, I could not get to that final infernal skill point.
Now, this game may have been free for me, but its platinum cost me 10 of the King's English pounds.
Then, a few weeks later, the PS Plus Essential Monthly games were announced. Control's Ultimate Edition was among them. The Ultimate Edition, which consisted of both DLCs, with all the skill points I could ever dream of, for free.
Thus beginning the never-ending joke that I only buy games a week before they're released for free on PS Plus. You see, single-player games can be left indefinitely on your backlog, or most of them anyway. Single-player games can just be returned to whenever you feel like it, as long as they don't have online trophies. Well, yes, but you are a Warner Brothers game, so what do we expect? But if you own the game, then there's really no point to stress yourself out. You can just abandon it and leave it for later on, for a rainy day. Obviously, I didn't approach trophy hunting in this way back then. But did that recklessness with my wallet teach me a very valuable lesson? Did that crumpled tenner remind me to never make the same mistake again? Stay tuned to find out.
I had been slowly but surely working my way through the God of War franchise, a series very close to my heart and a character's journey that I could simply never get bored of. Knocking out the perfect God of War 3 and the very enjoyable PSP title Chains of Olympus, I was only a couple of games away from completing my first full franchise.
Now, a favourite platinum is unique to every trophy hunter. We all have our favourites. Some people have one die-hard platinum they adore much more than any other. Others have a select few they just can't separate. Zach is the former. He does have a strict favourite, as he will tell you he's loyal to the things he loves. So, the winner of ZXL's Plativersary favourite platinum of all time is The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Tamriel, a land of magic and mischief, mud crabs and dragons. A game Zach loves so much he has earned it twice and insists he will stack at least once more. And I am almost certain he is 100% on Steam as well. 150 hours, 4 out of 10 difficulty, and simply a video game masterpiece. So, how do you approach Skyrim? Arginian or Dark Elf? Magic build or max out your heavy armor and turn yourself into a Nord tank? Let us know how you beat Skyrim in the comments.
After Skyrim, I finished off those final 2 God of War games, Ghost of Sparta and the Abysmal Ascension, meant that I had finally completed an entire gaming series, platting every installment of a franchise. Seeing the full list of Kratos' platinums in my trophy list made me feel like a god brimming with dopamine and ready to explode with egotistical madness.
It's like I was climbing another step on the completionist ladder, improving, evolving.
I immediately looked through my game stack to see what franchise I could take a stab at next. Having already done Origins and Odyssey, and owning most of the franchise already, I set my sights on Assassin's Creed. A beloved and adored franchise by some, hated by others, but criticised by all. Wonderful single-player narratives but awful tacked-on multiplayer, divine environments and good combat but dreadful expansions, DLC and pay-to-win mechanics. It is fair to say that Ubisoft is loathed almost as much as EA by gamers.
But the problem with Assassin's Creed games, and Ubisoft games in general, is that they usually have more bugs than a Brendan Fraser movie.
Brilliant actor, and it's wonderful seeing him finally getting the love he deserves.
Agreed.
I blitzed through Ezio's Divine Trilogy with ease, loving every second of my time in medieval Italy.
Medieval, being ironically sandwiched between Ezio installments, was my 33rd platinum. A fantastic game and a brilliant remake.
Taking out Modern Warfare with its 2 infamous silver trophies, the best of the best for beating the assault course in under 15 seconds, and of course, the Mile High Club. But during this time I was having significant problems with my Assassin's Creed quest. While playing Connor's story in AC3, I encountered the Umbrella UFO glitch, bugging me out of a load of post-game side quests.
Making 100% completion impossible on that run.
But rather than plough through to a second playthrough and drive myself mad, I learned from my impulsive Control DLC mistake and simply dropped AC3 in the hope a patch may repair my save. After all, this was the AC3 remaster recently released.
But of course, this is a Ubisoft game, and I should have fucking known better.
Phoenix Rising, Jedi Fallen Order and Modern Warfare 2 Remastered rounded off my second year as a hunter, and by this point I was feeling almost legitimised by my achievements. Despite not having a platinum harder than 6 out of 10, I was feeling like a goddamn esports champion. But Assassin's Creed 3 sat in my list incomplete and taunting me with its platinum trophy, all shiny and pretty. I had to go back to try it again. In fact, looking at AC3 and a whole bunch of other barely started games on my list, I decided to use the first 3 months of every year to work on my backlog and increase my completion percentage until I got it above 75%.
A mission that would give me more headaches than both my children combined.
Gear 3 got off to a nightmare start. Going back to Connor and his battle against his Templar father, I neared 100% in-game completion on my second attempt. Only to encounter another bug. This bug involves George Washington, and somehow, despite talking to the grey old bastard dozens of times, beating him at bowls and discussing all things independence, one of the conversations didn't register. Now, I have no idea why or how this happened, but it did, and I don't know anybody else who had this issue on PS4. I must be special. But once again I took heed of my expensive lesson in patience from Control and moved on to another game. Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation, which honestly was a lot of fun, a really enjoyable portable game that only gives you certain assassin abilities depending on which outfit you are wearing. It's a fun little change to the usual Assassin's Creed formula. I began working on my next franchise, another series that would prove problematic to complete. Wolfenstein. Old Blood and New Order have tricky elements, but both are very reasonable in their difficulties.
Now, this award could be given to any one of a number of dirty, sleazy, grubby platinums, like Zach's 41st Platinum, Duke Nukem 3D Anniversary Tour, which took a few hours but cheesed throughout thanks to a cheat menu. But Zach chose his next Platinum as the most shameful in his gaming history. 11-second Platinum Slide, a game so simple and fast to earn, it's his quickest Platinum, and he has auto pops on his list. Yeah, but how he gave this award to 42 when 43 is the abysmal, disgraceful, appalling Chickens on the Road? I will never know.
I had a lot of fun in my third year. It was my most productive 12 months, earning 50 platinum trophies and enjoying a wide range of great games. I worked through the Crysis Remaster, the Back to the Future Telltale series, which is simply glorious by the way, the brilliant Ratalaika gem Concept Destruction, a couple of Midnight games and the second Spyro game before turning my attentions to my 50th platinum, the midpoint between the dawn of my journey and its destination, Yharnam. My 50th Platinum had to be challenging but nostalgic, tricky but important to me on a personal level. I considered a bunch of games but only one really felt right. I decided to go back to the very first game I played on PlayStation 4 and finish it. I chose to become the Batman! Arkham Knight was an almost religious experience, and when I popped the Brutality 101 bronzer I felt like the fact that at this point in my life I had a very serious health condition that was literally trying to kill me made this victory so much sweeter. Once again I found myself laid up in bed, sick as a dog, earning a Batman Platinum. But this one I was genuinely proud of. That health condition is probably why I popped off a lot of rat plats during this spell, making my most productive year look far less impressive under closer inspection. But I don't care, trophies kept my mental health in check while my physical health collapsed, no regrets, and some of these rat plats are genuinely great little games that I'd love to see get real trophy lists that force you to complete the full game. Some like Bucket Night would be hella difficult if the trophy list reflected the game's entirety.
So many super serious gamers out there, but fun platinums and funny platinums are as valid as Souls-likes. Not as hard maybe, but just as adequate. You wouldn't just watch one genre of TV, would you? However much you love horror, you are still going to want some comedy every now and then, right? And Zach loves a comedy. So, his winner of the funniest platinum he has earned is Trover Saves the Universe. Devised by the shamed creator of Rick and Morty, the sci-fi VR playable title very much provides a very similar sense of humour to that show. I think at one point it was devised as a sequel to the Rick and Morty VR game, but they had to change it because of a contract situation. But let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. Ultimately, it's a game as grotesque and hilarious as Zach himself.
Ouch. Couple of grubs before picking my last ever game to play on my PS4, and after much deliberation, and I do mean much deliberation, ADHDers are the most incredible procrastinators on the planet. We can think about doing something while you're doing, and still be thinking about doing it after you finish doing it. Anyway, Ghost Runner was a game I was obsessed with from the second I saw the trailer. A fast-paced, one-hit kill first-person slasher that required lightning-quick reflexes and a focus on strategy. It is still one of my favourite games of all time, my 60th platinum, and one I am very proud to have earned as my last on a PS4, because now it was time for me to level up. PS5 time, baby! Enter Cinco. Refusing to have Astro's Playroom as my first PS5 Platinum, I opted to do Concept Destruction. Again, the PS5 stack this time. I guess it's ADHD and my constant need to rebel against literally anything. I just cannot follow a trend. But after my paper car crashing grubby, I played, platted and loved Astro's Playroom, an adorable game and brilliant introduction to both the new generation of PlayStation but also the DualSense controller.
Platinum fails made this year feel much more disappointing in my mind than it really was. But Sonic Team Racing was just that boring and that infuriating that even the friend I bought the game to play with gave up on the game after about an hour.
Then there was the frustratingly difficult Oddworld New and Tasty, a Lemmings-like platformer that sees you as Abe saving his fellow Mudokons from being turned into tinned tuna. A great game but a very rough platinum, a perfect runner speedrun and a run on the hardest difficulty.
Genius that I am decided to do all of these things in one run and get the platinum as quickly as possible, which obviously made it ridiculously hard and made me quit within 25% of the game. But this one didn't sting in the back of my mind. This one didn't hurt my pride to drop it and move on.
Then I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remake, a game that in my head I was fucking ridiculous at as a kid. I used to absolutely smash my friends when we played, hitting millions on the scoreboard. But the remake's platinum had me blubbing like a kid who just dropped his lollipop on the floor. The hard get-theirs and challenges are truly rough, and the grind to reach level 50 is as long as it is brutal. A game I gave up on, shamefully, embarrassingly. But if my fourth year wasn't going badly enough, my Assassin's Creed problems had resurfaced. A third, and I vowed final, attempt to platinum AC3 ended in the same bitter disappointment my previous efforts were rewarded with. Failure. So what happened this time, Zach? Well, I'll tell you. After avoiding both the George Washington and Umbrella UFO bugs, I ran into non-responsive NPCs. Specifically, the fucking NPCs I had to fucking interact with to fucking complete the fucking delivery missions. At the same time, I was bugged on top of a mountain in Valhalla, 2 hours into my time with it.
Failing platinums, giving up on my chosen franchise, and popping grubbies harder than Daniela Westbrook snorts blow. One of my lowest ever points as a trophy hunter. I needed cheering up. Some games are made with so much care, love and attention to detail that you can feel it in every single frame that flashes on your monitor.
Now, I know I've said all there is to be said about my 68th Platinum Trophy, but I'm going to say it again, because any game made by a single person over many years, someone who quit their high-paying job to dedicate every second of their time to a piece of art, such as a video game, deserves to be praised loudly and frequently. So thank you once again, Nick Pierce, for The Forgotten City. It is truly one of the most wonderful experiences I've ever had with a video game. And this delightful former Skyrim mod was just the tonic for my Platinum Blues, a game that revitalised my love of gaming but also my love of trophies. The true canon ending of the story is tricky to unlock, but as there's a trophy for it, I obviously did. That ending had me leaving the game with a smile on my face and a song in my heart. Brilliant. Wonderful. Following that, I had to have a bit of a laugh.
It started as a laugh, as a bit of a joke, something funny to say when I was having a smoke.
With the maturity of a teenage stoner, I managed to convince Crew into helping me with my next landmark platinum, my 69th plat trophy. The game, Leisure Suit Larry, Wet Dreams Don't Dry.
I assure you they do, and they cross the sheets. Mingin'.
But we played as the vintage horn dog in his latest iteration, a modernisation of our Randy Larry. A filthy little point-and-click adventure that didn't get me laid, but it did make me chuckle. So what was your 69th Platinum Trophy?
Being older than Jesus of Nazareth, Zach has a lot to look back fondly on. Gaming to him is in itself a nostalgic pastime. Every time he loads up Cinco, that's what he calls his PS5, a flurry of wonderful, happy memories of yesteryear play out in his mind. Oh, to be 7 years old again, sat on the sofa on a Saturday morning, playing Mega Drive and eating cereal. So, the award for Zach's most nostalgic platinum is Sega Mega Drive and Genesis Classics. A wonderful collection of the very best of the 16-bit glory days had to offer. From Toe Jam and Earl to Golden Axe, it has it all. A bunch of games he never beat as a child that he finally mastered to earn one of his proudest platinums.
Seeing as I plan to make a Souls game my 100th Platinum, it dawned on me that although I had dabbled in Souls games before, I didn't have a Souls or Souls-like on my trophy list.
Something that demanded immediate rectification.
Now, Lords of the Fallen was poorly received on launch due to a plethora of bugs and crashes, but years later patches have turned this once unplayable mess into a relatively good game. A platinum that is challenging and in places infuriatingly so, requiring a playthrough of each of the playable classes, 3 different endings determined by your final choice in the game, and of course a run at New Game Plus. But a game I feel was very enjoyable with great boss fights, interesting lore and killing lots and lots of monsters. My next milestone would be my 75th platinum, and for that I wanted another game that rekindled fond memories of my childhood. Now, I wanted to play a Hogs of War remake, but one still hasn't been made. Why on earth don't we have a whole bunch of Hogs games? What happened? So I settled for Worms Battlegrounds, another buggy, difficult game that, although PSNP claims is a 4 out of 10 difficulty, is actually one of the hardest platinums I've ever earned. A multiplayer mode that can easily be boosted, but just as easily bugs you out of the online trophies. Even after uninstalling, reinstalling, save deleting and cloud save switching, some people found their online progress simply didn't track properly. Did for me though. The Sergeant Swift trophy is the hardest the game has to offer, and honestly I found them harder to beat than I did the Chalice dungeons, especially within the 8-minute time limit. Despite the innocent looking trophy list, this is a 1% ultra rare platinum on PSNP, and to date it's still my rarest plat. The Lego video game, my favourite Lego game, because it's the shortest fucking Lego game, so I guess it's the Lego game I hate the least. Erica, a narrative game using real footage as opposed to gameplay. It was okay. GuyFarruski's guide is better than the game. Go watch that.
A lot of platinums require us to dedicate huge amounts of our time in order to earn them. We've all done grinds from hell, monotonous hours of tedium. So, what game does Zach elect as the worst grind he has ever done? It's gotta be Injustice 2's RNG fuckfest, right? And the winner is Space Overlords. A game so boring, so shit, that no one wants its platinum. Except Zach, because it has a ton of ultra rares. For more information on this dreadful game, check the link in the corner now. But whatever you do, don't play this absolute shitfest of a game. Please everyone, don't waste your time. Have more respect for yourselves than Zach does.
The next handful of platinums was probably the most enjoyable run of consecutive fun plats. Deadpool may be delisted, but if you can play it, it is delightful. Alien Isolation is tense, atmospheric and tricky to platinum as it involves a no-death run, which, with the annoying little facehugger fuckers running riot all over space station Sevastopol, is pretty tough. Stacking Mortal Kombat 11 is easy and mostly a fun ride, but the second platinum will be mostly grind. Luckily, it only takes about 8 hours, and I do love me a bit of a grind. Finally, the incredibly British Untitled Goose Game, which is actually really tricky, but very, very fun. Not the speedruns though, they were a big bag of hairy, unwiped ass.
Of course, difficulty is specific to the person as much as it is the game. One person can play Crash Bandicoot and platinum it in 20 hours. Another person could spend 100 hours and not come close to beating those dreaded time trials. Talking of, how is Crash going, Zach? Oh, big ending, huh?
Wow!
So now, the award for most difficult platinum on Zach's list, the platinum he found hardest to earn, and the winner is Unbound Worlds Apart. This beautiful, hand-drawn Metroidvania is a small but tough indie game that Zach is besotted with. When he earned it, only a handful of other people had done so, making him the 37th achiever of its awesome platinum, the first time he entered the first 50 achievers list on PSNP. But this made it infinitely harder, as there were no guides available to help him explore this wonderful game and find all of the abilities and villagers required for the platinum. Zach gets lost easier than a drunk girl in the club on her way to the toilet. A lovely game with a cute protagonist, a beautiful art style, and fun mechanics.
After the grueling difficulty of Unbound, I switched back to the second remaster in the Crysis trilogy, a nostalgic start to Year 4. I guess that's somewhat unsurprising. Refusing to play the definish-shit edition of GTA remakes, I opted instead to go old school and smash out the ported version of GTA 3, and oh boy was that fun. Not. I infamously used too many cheat codes and the game locked in slow-mo, and I couldn't turn it back, meaning I had to replay the entire game, and I was about 80% done with the platinum when this happened.
Cheaters never prosper, or at least I don't when I try to cheat.
With only 10 platinums left before I would finally visit Yharnam, I felt like I needed to test if I had made any tangible improvements in my gaming or not. So I took on a game that on the surface looked like a reasonable challenge.
Not many awards left now, but what is left are all worthy winners, as is our next winner. The award for Zach's proudest platinum is Mortal Shell. Mortal Shell is a Souls-like indie game which uses a hardening mechanic.
Phrasing, boom! Inappropriate.
Such a child. Anyway, before we were so rudely interrupted, the game has a hardening mechanic that you can use in combat to take hits without damage. It's a very fun and unique approach. The world is interesting, small but varied in its environments as much as the space allows. The trophy list is fun but very challenging. It requires you to complete the story without ever using a shell, the tool you use to harden. Bit of decorum, please. Anyway, this no-shell run means you die in one hit, and it's hard as shit. There is a way around it in one stack of the game, carefully deleting some parts of your save, but this didn't work for Zach, so he did it legit.
Honestly, after popping the Mortal Shell Platinum, I knew I could do Bloodborne. I knew I was ready. I popped SpongeBob's Plat in Bikini Bottom, partnered with BT to beat Titanfall 2, slummed it with the grubby goat My Name is Mayo, slept my way through Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl, lost 20 points on my own trophy list ranking system by platting Miles Morales. Check out our trophy list reviews for more on my thoughts on Miles Morales, how we rate platinums, and who tops our Hall of Fame leaderboard. List reviews are exclusive perks for patrons and channel members. To join, check out the links in the description. 97 platinums in, and truth be told, at this point I was already playing Bloodborne and mighty close to the platinum. To ensure it was my centennial plat, I knocked out the Freddy Spaghetti games to get me to the finish line.
Now, having done an entire series building up to me getting to Bloodborne, and then an entirely huge video on me actually getting the platinum, I don't want to bore you with the details here. But if you want to know what happened, check out the video in the corner now.
But I beat the story, defeated Amygdala, and walked out of the Chalice Dungeon swinging my big boy platinum like a fucking boss. 100 platinums, my goals all met, targets all beaten. But was this the end? Was I a 100 and done trophy hunter? I didn't feel burnt out or tired, I wasn't bored or fed up of hunting. In fact, I felt more confident and excited to hunt than ever before. I felt validated, like I actually belonged, and that's the great thing I found out about our community. They don't actually give a shit if you've platted Bloodborne. Sure, they'll probably give you some props for beating a great Souls game, but they're not going to march you through the street naked waving a bell at you for not doing so.
It turns out, I didn't have anything to prove to anybody but myself.
But after my adventures in Yharnam, I immediately went and did Mayo 2 and 3 to complete the trilogy, and as many people liked that as they did me doing Bloodborne. But now I don't feel pressured into platting anything other than what I was interested in, nor did I feel intimidated by longer or harder platinums. But then I found my trophy hunter kryptonite, RNG.
From best to worst, with our next award for the very worst platinum our boy has ever achieved. Could it be a grueling difficulty, a torrid time trial, a crazy number of collectibles? The ZXL Plativersary Award for Zach's worst platinum is Injustice 2. Yes, a great game with a great story and great combat, but its platinum is the stuff of nightmares. A trophy list clearly designed by the devil himself. The problematic trophy in this one is well known. An RNG hell so bad less than 2% of PSMP players have earned it.
Luckily, another feline-led game would help me heal. Despite the RNG nightmare, my confidence and enthusiasm remained intact, somehow. Perhaps the cursed blood still surging in my veins from my vacay in Yharnam. With this in mind, I looked back at my FIFA fails and decided enough was enough. It was time to platinum at least one of EA's multi-billion-pound franchise. Boosting with the true Portuguese goat GuyFarruski and my good friend Carl, popping the FIFA 22 Platinum couldn't have been any sweeter. Another bogey off my back, I'd follow this up by stacking it, then stacking the final ever FIFA 23, and now making EAFC an annual Platinum tradition. It felt like I really was making progress as a gamer. As a hunter, I went back to having fun and enjoying popping some fun rat plats like Inksplosion and the enjoyable Metroidvania Mystopia. I jumped my way to the Maneater Platinum, a delightful B-movie-like mockumentary game where you play as a shark. Scrat's Platinum drove me crazy for 110, and the PS4 stack of Wolf Among Us was as great as it was the first time round. Then Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the best PS5 games to date, a gloriously fun game and great platinum. Ammo Pigs and Save Room are both small but fun games, giving my emotions a break after the heart-wrenching narrative of Peter Quill's childhood.
Only a few more Plativersary trophies left to hand out now, and we start with the best boosting experience our boy Zach has had with a game. Now, he wanted to give this award to his FIFA 22 boosting bros, the legend Deadly, and the GOAT GuyFarruski, but Zach is very, very petty. And when GuyFarruski refused to join him for not only FIFA 23, but also the first entry of the rebrand FC24.
But he betrayed me. Shame on you, Sensei Farruski. Shame on you.
This betrayal, as Zach sees it. So he gives the award for best boosting to Platinum number 115, Chivalry 2, and his fantastic team of bread-throwing warriors.
Team of fucking chads.
A team that would later reunite for the far less enjoyable Mordhau.
It was after this that I decided to take on a year-long trophy streak. You know, popping a trophy every day for a calendar year. I know how easy this sounds, and yes, I do play my PS5 most days. I probably play 95 to 97% of my time available. So it shouldn't be too daunting a task to fill in those missing few days. Right? But then work, family, house, kids, YouTube, sickness, holidays, days out all suddenly became very big obstacles to overcome. And even when I did then play, I realised that although I played almost every day usually, I didn't pop trophies every day I played. This all added up to me making the entire streak a far bigger fucking nightmare than it ever had to be. But check it out for yourselves if you haven't already, it's one of my favourite videos to date. Of course, as soon as Ragnarok came out, I was on it, wanting to keep my complete Kratos chronology intact. The latter released Valhalla DLC was the best thing about the game for me, bridging the gaps between old and new God of War wonderfully. And then of course, that FIFA 23 Platinum.
Smells like victory.
Our penultimate award of the evening, the Platinum Zach regrets more than any other, the one he wishes he hadn't done, and honestly, this one hurts me on a personal level. The Plativersary trophy for ZXL's most regretful Platinum trophy is... Now, I am Zach's best friend, and that is a hard job a lot of the time. I love him, I do. He's a wonderful bro. But he is a fucking nightmare. He is more high maintenance than a goddamn Kardashian. And all I ask in return is that he occasionally shows some of my fandoms, things I cherish and hold dear, a little asshole. Luckily for Zach, I don't take too much insult from him rewarding Fallen Order this particular trophy. You see, he doesn't regret getting the Platinum in Cal Kestis' story. He regrets auto-popping the PS5 stack, which I can appreciate it having completed it myself once on PlayStation and once on Xbox. And I'm not even a trophy hunter.
However, my boys Vault Boy Steve and Crimson Purgatory are not so forgiving. Where do you all stand on auto pops? A fair free platinum or disgraceful abomination? Let me know in the comments.
Join us next time for our final trophy in the Plativersary Awards, the best platinum Zach has ever earned.
119 was a fun retro-style Doom Wolfenstein Quake FPS homage Phlegathon. With my love of killing monsters and Nazis, this 5-6 hour platinum was the perfect short game to play while I grounded out the daily challenges of Rayman Legends. Rayman proving I had improved another aspect of my trophy hunting, battling my ADHD to beat over 4 months of daily challenges and earning one of the coolest platinums in my trophy collection. Being in the middle of my year-long trophy streak, sticking to Rayman's dailies really made me feel like I'd get to the end of the streak without much trouble.
Oh boy, how
But before we get to my total and utter meltdown spiraling me into madness with the streak, we will celebrate my final victory of year 4. I went past 100 ultra rare trophies according to PSMP, taking me far ahead of my buddy Platinum Bro. He may carry me through every multiplayer game we do together, but I have more ultra rares than him, so I have that going for me, I guess. But that 100 ultra rare came from yet another FIFA Platinum, so... Jumping Taco was a total disgrace that I played for the video. Deathloop was overhyped, but a fun platinum. Drunken Fist is one of the most fun physics-based games I've played. The fun of drunkenly fighting your neighbours without the infuriating difficulty of a surgeon simulator, oh, I am bred. Arcadegeddon was an absolute blast with Figa Speggi and Louis Kung Fui. Super Arcade Soccer was so ridiculously fun, like the Italia 90 football game on the Mega Drive. I finished off the remastered Crisis trilogy, a truly fantastic series, and I'm hyped for the 4th game. Final plats of my 4th year of trophy hunting were both stacks of the Alex Kidd remake. As a child of the 80s, I cannot put into words how satisfying it was to pop that platinum. Twice. Sheer nostalgic fucking joy. But with Bloodborne smashed into my trophy cabinet as my milestone 100th platinum, going over 100 ultra rares and beating my phobia of FIFA plats and making the franchise my bitch, by the end of year 4, I was on top of the fucking world. Working on my full calendar year of trophies was beginning to take its toll. The impact of not being able to stay away from my PS5 for any 24-hour period was really quite constricting and frustrating. But I was getting on with it, resolute in my ambition to finish what I had started. I had only failed one big goal that I had set myself in trophy hunting thus far, and I blame Ubisoft for that entirely. How you release a fucking remaster with more bugs and problems than the original release is just fucking beyond me. It takes incompetence to a whole new level. Sorry. We're not getting into the Ubisoft rant again. Anyway, enough of wallowing in self-pity over my AC3 fails. It was time to focus on a new challenge, a new mission. It's all about killing them Nazis. This is my life. Mein Leben! With all the other Wolfenstein Platinums in my trophy cabinet, I turned my attention to a true 10 out of 10. The new Colossus and its infamous Bronzer for completing the story on its hardest difficulty, without dying, in one sitting. Mein Leben! And I thought doing this while also doing a year-long trophy streak was a good idea, like I had infinite amounts of time available to do these crazy things. So I set out to do a load of FPS plats in my Mein Leben training, smashing out the brutally difficult Serious Sam collection and the hilariously fun Bulletstorm. Both ultra rare, both ultra fun. A lot of smaller games filled out my 2023 purely for quick pop trophies. Most were good fun, some were fucking dreadful. The sheer number of them was the problem. For the first time since I first started trophy hunting, I didn't feel that I had a well-balanced play stack. My PS5 breaking down and going to Dr. CEX for over a fortnight killed my Mein Leben training, and my kids' games on her PS4 kept the streak going. So I do not have Mein Leben in my cabinet, but I also don't feel that this mission is a failure. No, I haven't done it yet, but I am obsessed with it, just like I was with Bloodborne. Then I will return to it eventually, probably using my buddy Score's incredible guide. 151 TMNT Shredder's Revenge is a glorious retro-inspired side-scrolling brawler that oozes turtle power. A multiplayer arcade mode is great fun, but must be completed on hard, which is pretty tricky, especially when the final boss fights is bugging out like a crackhead who just accidentally dropped acid. 154 Mordau was a bitter disappointment, but at least I got to hang with my Shiv 2 team for a few hours. Sadly, Mordau may have been made by half the devs that made the first Chivalry, but the good half obviously went on to do Shiv 2. EAFC 24 was 159, and the rebranded FIFA took huge steps backwards as a franchise. The addition of a ridiculous number of new unnecessary animations for players' ball control took the fast-paced, exciting game of FIFA and turned it into a slow, clunky and miserable experience in EAFC. The Platinum is pure nightmare fuel, with the trophies for winning consecutive matches, winning the playoff in pro clubs, and of course the annual Volta grind to level up and unlock a shit ton of crap cosmetics.
Or you can do what my buddy Figa did and just pay for them.
Pumpkin Jack ended my 2023 and I was glad to see the back of it. A great year personally, but as a gamer I was miserable. I added too much pressure to my playtime and I ruined it. Lesson well and truly learned.
At the end of 2023 and the end of my streak, I realised what a stupid fucking decision that was.
It changed how I played, making me ignore the games I was playing and focusing entirely on the trophies. This destroyed my immersion and enjoyment of nearly everything I played. Never again. But if you want to watch my pain, enjoy the video in the corner now. But this is why year 5 was a really crap year for my trophy hunting and the platinums I earned. I simply didn't get overexcited about anything I was doing. Maybe because my ADHD adult brain absolutely hates routine and schedule, and the streak made gaming more of a chore than a hobby. Or maybe it's just because I played shit games. But it's always important to remember that nothing is all bad and nothing is all good. Despite my streak misery and Mindlaben failure, I noticed that I was no longer using guides to platinum games. I was just figuring trophies out for myself. I was also playing games on release without fear. As a casual gamer, I always just played what took my fancy, but as a hunter, I had been more cautious. I always checked trophy guides for difficulties and missables, in that order. Year 5, I stopped looking at trophy guides at all. Despite a rough year, I learned a lot about myself and my preferred way of playing and platting games. I no longer feared new games and felt liberated to now just play anything that caught my eye, just like I did as a casual gamer. And now with my completion percentage over 70%, despite these assholes doing their best to keep it down, I no longer had to worry about the numbers, any of them. I had enough plats, I had enough of each trophy type, enough ultra rares, and a good completion percentage. Out of nowhere, I was freed from all the constraints that I myself had inadvertently put up.
Here we are, at the very end of the ZXL Plativersary Awards for his best and worst platinum trophies. As promised, we reached the very last trophy tonight, and we have saved the very best till last. The best platinum Zach has ever earned is Ghost Runner 2. Sequel to one of Zach's favourite games of the last 10 years, Ghost Runner 2 picks up where the first left off. You play as Jack, the titular Ghost Runner, as he swipes, slashes and parkours his way through fantastic environments in a fascinating dystopian world. The Platinum gets a 6 out of 10 on PSMP with one full playthrough, but a lot of replaying levels. The Gold Runner Goldie for beating 5 levels with no deaths is tough, but the Rogue Runner roguelike money game you have to beat for the collectibles trophies is tricky to say the least. Lots of tough miscellaneous trophies round out a difficult but very, very enjoyable platinum. So much so it wins the best platinum trophy tonight.
It really is a phenomenal game. Thank you, Gary. A pleasure as always, baby. Making the most of my newfound freedom from trophy guides, I jumped on the newest instalment in the Arkhamverse. Suicide Squad wasn't as bad as many claimed, but was tedious and repetitive in the post-story grind. Me, Spedgy, Platbro and Shadow keeping each other sane during some pretty fucking dull XP grinding. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy most of my time with it. I did. I'm a DC super simp. Okay, Drunk Fist 2 isn't quite as bad as Freddy Spaghetti 2, but does feel like another soulless sequel to a very clever and enjoyable Ratalaika published game. 169 had to be honoured the same way 69 was, so I brought the pervy masterpiece Hentai vs Evil and shot those demons back to hell in my pants. Hellboy Web of Word was another game without a guide and less than 10 platinum achievers, few of which were vocal with advice on Reddit and PSMP. But this visually glorious adaptation of Mike Mignola's Big Red creation is a very repetitive roguelike. Now, I enjoyed it because I'm a massive Mignola fan, but for casual gamers or hunters, the 40-hour completion is twice as long as it probably should be. The final game I earned in my 5th year as a trophy hunter is the wonderful Metal Hellsinger, a game so fun I plan to do it again when I'm finished with this video. A hell-set FPS reminiscent of Doom, you must shoot your way through every layer of hell on beat to do the most damage. Class game. And I just imagine Jack Black playing this all the time. With no streak to worry about and brimming with confidence but burnt out from a year of disjointed gaming, I needed some RPG therapy. And where better to spend a 150-hour fantasy vacay? That's right, I went back to Tamriel. From the moment my eyes slowly opened on that cart, I felt like I was home, back in a world I adored with a story I cherished, and a platinum I knew exactly how to earn. I knew I would enjoy a second run at Skyrim, but I thought by the end of it I'd be bored, ready to uninstall it. But rather the opposite happened. When I popped the final trophy, I sat back, disappointed, sad to wave off my favourite game yet again. But it's okay, the fun was only just beginning. Year 6 was to be a year to challenge myself, test my skills, gauge how much improvement I have made in the last 5 years. It was time to go back to games that beat me and see if I got good enough to finally beat them. Game 1, Arkham Asylum, a game notorious for its brilliance and its difficulty. The challenges are rough and the combat is harder to control in its first installment than it is in the other two. The flawless free flow trophy is the key to beating this platinum, and I could never string a combo long enough to get close to it. But could I now? From there, the challenges became infinitely easier. Suddenly the combat made perfect sense and flowed freely every time I entered a challenge. The one challenge I found difficult was the shock and awe level, and this is difficult for two reasons. 1. Your space is very restricted, meaning your jumps and movements have to be consistently precise.
2. It's the only Arkham challenge with a time limit.
The key here is to get your high score in the first 2 rounds so you can rush through the last 2 with takedowns. Now, if you're struggling with the Arkham challenges, then like this video, because if it gets over 100 likes, I will do a step-by-step guide on how to build combos, hit those high scores, and earn that gorgeous platinum. Much like my second Skyrim platinum, the Asylum plat felt bittersweet. Sweet for the fact I finally beat it completely, properly, bitter because I had actually finished it and was now done. But I felt like I needed more Batman.
Do it, Arkham City.
I still need a new PS3 controller, but I think I'll be going back to Arkham Asylum when I do and stacking it. What plats do you wish you could earn again? Have you got the Arkham Platinums? Which is the hardest challenge to you? Let me know in the comments.
And finally, the truest test of any trophy hunter seeking validation.
Crash Bandicoot! And this nefarious little bugger of a cute but nightmarish mascot platformer is a remake of one of the PS1's most beloved games. The Insane trilogy has 1, 2 and Warped, with the Platinum starting hard as hell, but getting easier as the trilogy progresses. I was so bad at platformers, and Crash in particular, that when I started trophy hunting, I didn't even get past the second world in the first game, before rage quitting and uninstalling it.
If I've learned anything in the last 5 years, it's patience. Have a little patience.
I no longer raged at games. I channeled my frustrations and fury into the game itself, forcing a level of focus I never even thought possible for myself. I go into an intense level of absolute hyper-focus and just sit rooted to my screen, controller in hand, until I beat whatever it is that is in my way. Sure, this can mean I take 10 solid hours to finish a 37-second time trial, but I get it done. So that's improvement, right? But let's ask my friends if I've improved over the last 5 years.
Has 5 years of trophy hunting made Zach a better gamer? No. I mean, he keeps banging on about how he's platinum Bloodborne, but everybody and their mother have got Bloodborne. Does he have Devil May Cry 5? I don't think so. Is he going to be good enough to get Devil May Cry 5? We'll see. Catch me next time, in 5 years' time, where we answer this question.
You know, I didn't know you 5 years ago, Zach. But you know what? I still think you're a prick. So, Zachy boy, have you improved as a trophy hunter over the last several years, near 5 years? I mean, I don't know, you started with Telltale games, accidentally unlocking Batman, and then you dive deeper into games like Wolfenstein 2. But you didn't do it yet. So have you really improved? I don't think so. I think you've got some more improving to do, buddy boy. And especially when it comes to games like Payday.
Hey, what's up, Zach and Zach's viewers? He asked good old Platbro for his opinion on whether or not Zach has got better at trophy hunting over the past 5 years. I mean, I didn't know you 5 years ago, so, you know, there's that. I've known Zach for a couple of years now, and I've played a fair few games with him. I think the first game I played with him was Chivalry 2 in December of 2022. And there was definitely a divide in quality amongst the group that we had. Zach being in the bottom end of the quality of players, I would say. We were definitely carrying him through that game on the online, and the game's all online. So as you can imagine, we were carrying him pretty much through the entirety of that game. I then played Arcade Again with him, which was a roguelike third person. Same again. Actually, to be honest, I carried him even more so then, and that was January of 2023, so we're talking about a year and a bit ago. I played a fair few games with Zach. I played Suicide Squad, Gotham Knights, Battlefield, but I mean, I'm pretty shit at Battlefield, so I can't really say I was carrying him then. Do I think he's got better? What I will say is that Zach's become more open to playing a variety of different games, some of which are actually very difficult, and he set himself some hard tasks, which I think you will achieve. And if you'd asked me, like, when I first started playing with you, do I think you could platinum Crash Bandicoot, Wolfenstein 2, I probably would have said no. Do I think that now? I mean, there's more of a chance. I will say definitely Zachary. And I think your openness to help people. Zach has helped me with a lot of games that I've had to boost with. I've needed someone and he's just jumped to my aid like a balding, bearded Superman. So I got to thank you for that, Zach. So I think you're better. You're definitely better. I think with trophy hunting, we play such a variety of different game styles and game types and genres that it's hard to measure someone's actual ability in these games because you're always genre hopping, right? But I do think Zach's got some more impressive plats. You know, he's working on Crash. He might have Crash now. Don't know. Don't watch his videos. Don't like the guy really that much. So I think he's definitely better, but I don't really care. So there's obviously that. So that's all I'm prepared to say. That's all I'm prepared to say on this. Basically, I just found a fence and sat on it, and that is my answer. Right, thank fuck this is over. Zach, you prick.
Zachy Boy asked me here today to answer one question and one question only. Has he improved over the last 5 years as a trophy hunter? Well, first of all, we haven't known each other for 5 years, buddy. Really wish we had, but we haven't. Now, moving on to the actual question at hand here. You used to be a carbon copy of Platinum Bro. Doing grubbies, Radalaikas, all those easy games to get those platinums on the board. But nowadays, you've challenged yourself to things like Bloodborne and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you're gonna get mine leaving for Wolfenstein 2, and you're even doing Payday 2 with me and Steve. I still wonder why us three have signed up for this. Feiger, he really wanted to do it, but us three, I don't know, we must have been smoking some serious stuff to actually agree to doing that, but I digress. You've definitely improved, my friend. You're only gonna get better as the years go by, and that is what Crimson Purgatory has to say. Right? Hey, Zachy Boy, so I've done that segment for you. So you'll send that payment through, right, in the next couple of minutes? What do you mean you're not paying me? We agreed to payment. I say nice things about you, you pay me. Right, no. I don't do this whole I'm your friend thing, so I do this for free. No, you send me through the payment or you're gonna see the wrath of the Irish firsthand. Right, you asked for it, buddy. Don't say I didn't warn you. So, you wanna know what I really think? Has Zach improved over the last 5 years?